One.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Objective. And we got an interesting kind of a meta topic today because I'm going to be the topic in a sense. I was recently on a very popular show called the Timcast or something like that. I don't really know what it was called, but I was invited on. I thought about it. I've been moving away from wanting to get out into the world and tell everybody all these things, how, German philosophers came to America via the students as they taught and flipped the American Revolution on its intellectual head and all of that. I'm sort of, I think I've matured from that, and I wanted to focus more on just my own thing and working on my own entertainment, as well as I enjoy coming on this show and kind of applying my philosophical integrations onto the topics that are thrust upon me. But beyond that, I've sort of gotten over the whole the whole thing of like going on to the any big platform I can get on and like talking about Ayn Rand and oftentimes overstepping what I know. So when I was invited onto this very big show, I kind of thought about like, is this what I want to do right now? And also, this is kind of the belly of the beast in a sense. Not that like Tim and his audience are the worst people, but it like intellectually for I think what it is sort of we're up against, quote unquote. It's easy to contrast us with the left, right? Leftists aren't going around claiming to be the guys who truly understand Ayn Rand, right? But, like someone like Tim Pool, he's living in a house full of people that have read Ayn Rand and have ended up all over the place. And his audience, many of the people commenting during the stream, they're all over the place and hostile to what I'm saying. So it was interesting. I kind of decided I'm going to go on there to have fun. That's the reason for me to go on that show. It's to have fun, to sort of put on my fronts, to kind of play the character, be sort of my kind of blend of like Andy Kaufman, Ali G, and just kind of me, and just see where the discussion goes. I understand that the character that I sort of play when I do that, the uninitiated may find annoying. I understand that also when I remove that character, many people still find me annoying. And on top of that, I understand that when I give my opinion on China, Donald Trump, and immigration, three topics, which, by the way, I did not bring up on the show, but they were brought up as sort of what ifs, Oh, I understand what you're saying about individualism, but then what if the Chinese, or what if the immigrants, or don't you think that Trump represents ... So, I understand that those things are going to come up, and then me giving my opinion, of course, are going to cause ruckus. Now, on a personal level, I'm thrilled with the show. I watched clips of it. I thought it was funny. I look cool, dressed cool, looking like a guy who's having a good time. I love how the comments are unanimously negative. And I love the fact that Tim and his team loved it. They were thrilled to have me there. They were thrilled with how it went. They want to have me back. And when I think about, well, do I want to accept their invitation to come back? I think the answer is yes, because of how negative the comments were. It reminds me of the old days of interning on the radio and playing my prepared segments and getting a bunch of angry phone calls. It's like we found something that kind of works or doesn't work, but we found something. Let's see where this goes. So it was a rich experience, not a bad way to spend a couple days traveling and entertaining. What was extra interesting is that I had to do an hour-long daily objective before that fact, which I tried watching back. It's my slowest, most astronaut episode. I'm all over the place trying to articulate myself. It was a big day. And I mean, people have no idea what these types of things are like. They think it's easy, right? Yeah, you just go there, you do the show, you leave. That's what, once you're seasoned at it, it is that simple. But when it's all new, then there's a lot going on. You need to sort of, you need to do anyway. But what's interesting to me, and we are now nearing the end of my opening monologue, I'm reminded of people like Dave Rubin and all of these anti-cancel culture people. They're always saying, like, you'd be surprised how many people contact me privately to thank me for what I'm doing. So what's interesting to me in the aftermath of the Tim Pool podcast is obviously the comments were like virtually unanimously negative about me. But I got a lot of DMs, a lot of emails and private messages from people, many of whom had never heard of me before, who enjoyed it, thought it was one of the best. Some of them have ordered Ayn Rand books and just generally wanted to thank me for the show, wanted to thank me for what I did. So you'd be surprised how many people are contacting me privately to say, you know, and that kind of brings me to the point that I think maybe we'll get into here today, which is, at what point is this sort of new right or this sort of populist right or this non-neocon right, whatever you call this sort of the people in Tim Pool's chat room and comment section, at what point are these people, the left, like using leftist energy that they complain about? Is this not cancel culture when I say one thing they disagree with and they're saying burn him at the stake? Is that not cancel culture? Is this the open marketplace of ideas? And again, I understand I presented myself as an annoying character. So like there's that as well. But that brings me to my second point, which is that these people are NPCs, non-playable characters. There's a meme the young people will get, but might not want to face the fact that if they're in Tim Pool's comment section, they probably are that thing, NPCs. And what does that meme mean? Like, I think it means like
first of all, it's non-player character,
but like they don't get the joke. Everything goes over their head. They take everything seriously in a way that is disproportionate to its actual importance. Like you can't, like essentially that it's a term that right wingers made up to describe leftists, right? Like, oh, these leftists, they're NPCs. They don't get any joke. Everything goes over their head and they're freaking out over nothing. What do you call the people in Tim Pool's comment section? Explain to me how these are not NPCs, right? Anyway, that's my opinion. I had a great time. I would do it exactly the same, minus one or two gaffes, like things I could have framed better, or a missed opportunity at the end of Tim Pool's rant at me to answer, thank you for the feedback. Oh, that would have been epic because it's a callback to his Joe Rogan Twitter Jack interview, which was a classic moment. He ranted at the PR lady at Twitter, and when he was done, she said, thank you for the feedback. That was very funny. All right. Anyway, believe it or not, it's not just going to be me here today talking. We've got a guy who you heard a moment ago speaking. He's a man all the way from Greece. He's here to represent the philosophical perspective because he gave us philosophy. Basically, if you ask some of Tim Pool's comment section, he basically is responsible personally for everything the Greeks have done, the good and bad. And yeah, Zalmi in the chat room says they're normies, right? They don't get it, but they're here to protect free speech and keep comedy offensive and never give in to political correctness. Yet, and I thought the whole point of Donald Trump, by the way, is that he's too cool to care. That he says what he wants, and as angry as people get at Trump, that just makes him cooler, right? I thought that was the whole appeal of Trump. And now look at the way people flip out if you criticize Trump on any level. So explain to me how these are not normies. Please, I'd love to know. Now, here to help us understand the situation, a guy who recently watched the interview, not because I was on it, but because he's an avid viewer and fan of Tim Pool. I don't actually know if that's true. It's just sort of it's the projection that Razi and I throw at him, like he's this red-pilled, like Trump enthusiast, new right, Trump fan who watches Tim Pool. And by the way, I've learned things about Tim Pool by talking to him that make me see him a little bit differently. Like he's not the Trump enthusiast necessarily that the media presents him as, but we'll get into that. Please welcome, at long last, he sat through this whole opening monologue very patiently. He's probably about to explode. Nikos Sotirakopoulos.
Thank you, Rucka. So the only thing I disagree with what you said is so if I was your fashion manager, we would disagree on the fashion choice. I watched the whole show. I think you did great. But here's the thing, I listened to it from Bluetooth while doing chores. now that I see the comments, I understand what you are saying. And I was actually shocked because all the most liked comments, like 9 out of 10, one is an inside joke that I don't get. The other 9 are comments that are trashing you. And what I'm trying to understand is what exactly they disagreed from what you said on the show. So I think you did a very good job. But I want to ask a couple of questions out of curiosity in terms of how would we. So here's the situation. You're in front of hundreds of thousands of people. As you said, number one priority is for you to have a good time, which is good, takes off some stress. But also you have to defend your principles. But also you don't want to be there as the guy, who's going to pass the party line. So first time you mentioned Ayn Rand is like more than 1 hour and 20 minutes in. But from the beginning, you not tease them. You don't let anything drop. So the first question is this: how do you approach such a situation that you have the opportunity to be in front of an audience of hundreds of thousands, and they are on a surface level allies, but on a second level, you're going to piss them off. But also, that you want to be, you need to have integrity, and you're not going to back down just to appease and be a good guest. So, how did you approach it in your mind, and what was your thinking?
Like I said, I went on there to have fun. I thought to myself, I don't expect any, objectivists to be born of this interview, although I think quite a few probably will be. But that was I really was thinking I am so over this whole part of the internet, this independent journalist, politically obsessed portion of the internet. God bless, good luck. I'm moving on and doing other things for a while. So I really wanted to go on there as an exercise, like a Sacha Baron Cohen type thing. But, with me, I'm not like Sacha Baron Cohen is very disciplined. When he plays a character, he probably sleeps in character during that shooting process. And in his interviews, he keeps a straight face and he doesn't break character. With me, it's more like, yo, I'm me. I'm being sarcastic here. Then I'm back to being literal. But generally, it was kind of, let's see how these characters or how these personalities intersect or how they interact. So me, in a sense, versus Tim Pool, or how do these two very particular types of people interact with each other? So I was trying not to think about who the audience is or how I'm going to be treated. But yeah, very quickly, I saw the chat room was just flying, 30,000 people watched that show live. A lot of comments flying by, and they all seem to be negative. But anyway, no, I didn't think of it as how do I be true to my principles, but not, I knew at some point I would need to discuss what I believe, but I really went in there to be funny and to to crack myself up, which I did.
So, for the record, I don't think I mentioned earlier, it was the first time I watched the Tim Pool show. So I found it good in two ways. I found it funny. So there was a good banter, and I think actually I had a good time. But also, I liked some of your points. So I'm going to mention two things that I think were the highlights of your not of your fan performance, but of the actual discussion. So the first is when they start talking about big tech. And this is something that in the panel, they really had a tough time understanding. So they were talking about the power of big tech, they're talking about monopolies, they're talking about big this, big that. And then you tell Tim Pool, yes, but you're a big YouTuber. And then for a second, he seemed to freeze with this. So what do you think do these people actually get that they have, so this guy has almost 1 million subscribers. So even 10 years ago, he wouldn't be able to be at the level where he is today in terms of the audience that this guy. So do they connect the dots that actually, no, there is difference between the power of the government, as you said, and the power of big tech? Because the power of big tech is what allows me to do what I do. And me and you have disagreed so many times on big tech. But do you think that this point that, no, you are in a way the big tech, you are the big YouTube, do you think that this punch landed?
I mean, it landed when I watched it back this morning. I mean, it's true. Probably Tim and others would say that big tech, they're at the top level of power. So if big tech cancels you, you're gone. Whereas Tim Pool doesn't have that kind of influence. He can only control who gets to come on his own channel. So That's probably how somebody could answer that. But I was just kind of saying, like, people were conflating monopoly with just big, like anyone who's big, and they're not just being completely promiscuous with who they give a platform to or who they allow to speak on their platform. Now they're a monopoly and they're censoring people. So it's absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, that was kind of a gratuitous moment to say, like, you're big YouTuber, right? But it only goes so far. Like, we need to, what I like more than that was sort of complimenting Tim, because it was genuine, and like telling him, like, here's what you've done. Like, you've focused on the world in front of you, and you've taken action to build up something, and it's very impressive. And this is what you need to hold on to and to conceptualize. You need to understand what is this, and how do I maximize my ability to live this way and afford that same opportunity to anyone who wants to take it. So, you know what? Do you know, if I had to say something recent that informed the way I think recently, and therefore how I spoke on the interview the other day, was so Ankar Gate had a meeting with the author of a book. Do you know what I'm talking about? This was like
by the way, there's some vaping stuff, but there's no fire behind you, right?
It's something... just the...
Oh, okay. Just wanted to make sure there's no
humidifier. It's a humidifier.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
good.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you for not letting my house burn down.
Good. So you were saying about Ankar.
So Ankar Gate had a discussion with someone who wrote an influential book. I think this is a Harvard professor. He wrote a pretty influential book about
Atlas
no, not Atlas Hugged. No, Ankar did not speak to that.
The Tyranny of Merit.
I think that might be it. It's an influential book about morality and social issues, like how society should be set up. And in their discussion,
Michael Sandel. Sorry to interrupt
sure,
you.
No. I mean, I'm glad. Michael Sandel. Very good. And something Ankar said to him, I think multiple times, which stuck with me, is he said I think I'm obviously paraphrasing. The question is not how do we set up society to maximize morality. The question is, if somebody wants to be moral, if somebody wants to be rational and pursue rational values, what is the type of civilization that enables him to do so? Again, the question is not how do we set up society to maximize moral action, but rather, if somebody wants to take moral action, what is the type of civilization where he's able to do so? And that's kind of, that was sort of my North Star in the interview the other day. So I kept kind of bringing it back to Tim, and I'm like, well, look at what it is that you're doing that's enriching your life, and make, what it is that you're doing with your life. And that's kind of what you need to hold on to. And that needs to be kind of your main value that you're holding on to. And all politics should sort of relate back to the ethics that go with that ethical, like that career work and stuff like that. Anyway.
Makes sense. So before then I go to the second praise, my second favorite part, let me ask a question, which is not a criticism, but not sure that it's landed. So many times your line of attack or defense, however you're going to see it, is, look, we need to see what is the nature of man, what world we live in, and from there we can understand what are the principles we need to build. So do you think that to the average, let's say, intellectual dark web person, or whatever these people would call themselves, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but do you think that this can, do you think they get it? Do you think that, or do you think this is a bit of a party line that makes sense among us, but if we go to the outside world with this, it's not really going to make much sense?
I think a lot of it is not going to make sense to a lot of people, and a lot of people who, even the ones who contacted me with positive feedback, they said things like, oh, well, I think you should read, like someone said, you should read what the founding fathers said about the Second Amendment, like gun rights. Like, and I'm not going to be able to explain, like, to this person right now what I meant to say when I said gun rights are derivative. They're not, we have gun rights because we have property rights and the right to life, and the right to speak. No, look, the average person is not going to get it, which is why I think when objectivists go out into the world, it makes sense for them to push Ayn Rand and to promote her books and novels. And that's what I did a few years ago when I spoke to Ruben. But in this case, I was really there to have fun. I was there to see how my sort of approach to theatrics blends with the sort of Tim Pool universe. And even so, I think I got a lot of good things off my chest in the process. So, but yeah, the point about like, like what the founding fathers, I could have made a bigger point to say how imperfect the founding fathers were and how Ayn Rand completes, I think, the Enlightenment project. But that, that wasn't what I was doing there.
Right. No, makes sense. So before we go to the Ted Cruz duel, which is the thing I want to finish off, let me tell you I have many notes that we didn't cover. We can discuss it also in the, how it's called, in the clubhouse. So at some point, the guy with the long hair, again, I haven't watched the show, so I don't know if these people are regulars. So the guy with the long hair says, we need a balance between collectivism and individualism. This is towards the end. Because he says, God knows why, too much individualism is going to lead in slavery. Anyway, what I like is your answer. You say, no, we don't need to stay in the middle. We need to find what is right and then be an extremist about this. So that, I think, is the best point. And this is also something that I mentioned also with the tribalism narrative, that many people say the problem is we need to meet in the middle. There's too much tribalism, means people take ideas too seriously. It's like, no, it's they don't take ideas seriously enough. What we need to find is what is a good idea and go full in on that. So that was so was this something that came on that moment, or is this something that you have, let's say, as that you have as
like
a line?
Like I could have responded to the long hair guy more. I mean, again, I was there with a particular
no.
mission.
I mean, no. I'm not saying you didn't. I say the opposite. That I like this line so much. So I'm asking, like, had you?
What was the line again?
Conceptualized it before, or did it come at the moment?
What was the line again that I said that you liked?
That you have to find what is right and be an extremist. You don't have to meet in the middle.
I mean, that was sort of a spur of the moment, but I was using the long hair guy as a prop in a sense, and not in like a malicious way, but as part of turning it into a theatric experience. I was sort of playing good cop with Tim, and sort of turning this really nice looking guy, like he looks like a nice long haired hippy dippy dude by his image. I really did just meet him then, and I'm looking at him like, I got a problem with you, dude. What is your deal? It was for comedic effect. But again, people they don't understand the sort of anxiety that goes into stepping into that onto that stage, but also when you're also they don't necessarily see how when you're 2 hours in and this guy makes a comment about individualism and collectivism, at that point, you're sort of out of a lot of your energy, and you just have to kind of sort of do your best in a way. So, yeah, anyway.
No, actually, as I said, it was my favorite point from the interview. That's why I'm also kudos for bringing up the ominous parallels. Okay, it was a super chat, but hey, someone brought up the ominous parallels to an audience. So when I started watching, you had 313,000 views. Now that I check the comments again, it's already 3,115. Anyway, me and maths, but you have 2,000 more views in 2 hours. So it's, and I'm sure many people are listening to Paul. So a lot of people at least heard about that. Also, you gave a pitch to the Arnold Center at the end. One thing we didn't cover, Razi wants it to cover with a special episode. I'm not sure if it's gonna get there, but the Ted Cruz issue. So you said you want to have a non-lethal duel with Ted Cruz. Now, one of my big disagreements with Razi is whether in a free society, duels safely isolated somewhere should be legal, but that's for a different discussion. But very, very quickly, why are you so angry with Ted Cruz? Obviously, you're not going to have a duel, but why Ted Cruz?
I mean, because he used to read Atlas Shrugged in front of the American people on the floor of Congress, and he sort of represented that kind of what's left of the love of capitalism in America. Obviously, he wasn't the real deal, and everybody knew that. Well, everyone should have known that. But he played that game, and I never would have thought he was so cynical that he would oppose Trump to the last day of Trump, like running for president, and then within a few years become actually trying to push Trump towards quote, breaking up big tech and all of that BS. So it's just the ugliest thing. And he really is just a shell of maybe the man he maybe was. So that bothers me more because he is sort of pretended to be one of the good guys, holding on to the founding principles. And we are going to have an episode about Ted Cruz.
Right. Okay. So Razi says, yeah, Razi wants a whole episode of the Ted Cruz, as we said. So this might happen. But for now, we move it to Clubhouse. Lord Emperor, is there anything else we want to, in 35 minutes, James Valiant and Don Watkins are discussing the essay causality versus duty. Am I right? Yeah, causality versus duty. So, order of things. 1, we move to Clubhouse. B, you join the meetup where you have 2 people who understand objectivism in a very good way and can explain in a simple way, discussing one of the important essays. And outro from the protagonist of the day, Rucka.
Protagonist, I'll take it. Thank you to the super chatters. I don't think we read them aloud, but I glanced at them. Some very nice things, very positive things. And that's nice of you to give me positive feedback. You know, I mean, I'm reminded, like, when someone's called a bigot, you know, a common response is, he goes, anyone who knows me knows that, you know, I'm not a hateful person and I love everyone, right? But anyone who knows me. So I think people who know me, a lot of them really enjoyed the episode, whether they know me as a you know, entertainer or my personal friends. Like, people were texting me. I had no idea everyone basically watches Tim Pool, like virtual, like, quote, everyone. So many people were texting me. Oh my God, that was amazing. So the hatred I was getting from the comments and chat room. Yeah, I know it's easy to sit here and say, oh, they just hate my arguments and they can't handle the truth, which is, I think, often true, but also they are getting this very obnoxious character right from the start of the show being pushed on them. And they're just like, what the hell? Now, I think cool people, my kind of people like me would watch that and say, oh, this guy's interesting. This is something different. I want to see where this is going. This is kind of ridiculous, but I'm intrigued. But people like me, I personally don't watch these politically obsessed shows. There are other things that I do with my time. So it's understandable, both because of my annoying presentation, as well as the fact that these ideas are unpopular, that it would get such a negative response. But again, people who know me, whether it's publicly or personally, I think enjoyed the show, as well as some of the new people as well. They actually did watch it and go, oh, this guy's kind of different, but it's fresh. Let's go with it. So those are my closing words, I guess. I'm sure as time passes, I'll be reviewing this whole experience in my head. And who knows, a week from now, we could be doing the show and I bring up something that happened on the Tim Pool show and I relate it to what we're discussing then. Yes, Nikos.
Last question. Was this your mostly viewed thing or the Rubin thing? Of course, this is very fresh, but which one do you think is going to be the biggest?
Well, this in one day got more views than the entirety of my Rubin interview. So okay. Rubin, I think, just passed like 250,000 views or less after 3 years, whereas Tim Pool live, I think, got 150,000 and now is at 300,000. And with the audio version probably is at 400, 500,000.
Yeah.
This is the biggest thing. I mean, I did not want this title, but this may be like the biggest objectivist interview ever. I believe me.
That's where I was getting. Yeah. 2 weeks ago, we had Craig Biddle. I don't remember what was his number.
That is much bigger though. That's, pushing 1 million or 700,000. So I'm glad a non-character entertainer is the one who is, representing objectivism to the largest audience. And of course, Yaron Brook, who, if I get a chance, I want to, recommend him to Tim Pool's staff. And if he wants to try and get him on the show, I think he'll piss off the audience plenty with his opinions, but he's not going to go on there with a backwards cap, and act like the fourth Beastie Boy, right? So
no, it was more the t-shirt. I don't like this group, man. I don't know.
You don't like the Offspring? Do you understand?
I used to like them in 9. Okay, this is gonna sound
this is important. Nice to see you're the type of person who throws your values under the bus. So do you understand that they changed my life? You understand we wouldn't be here right now without the Offspring? Do you understand?
No, I don't know the story.
Well, you just heard it. When I was a kid and I got my hands on some Offspring, to me, this was the sound of the pagans calling. These were the Greeks telling me there's another light to follow. Follow the light, they said, but not like you're dead, but like, bro, follow the light. Get out of the cave. Anyway.
More on that on the
more
Clubhouse.
on that. We'll have a full episode on that. Thank you to everyone for watching this today. We will I'm sure this will come up in future discussions just because it's going to be, I'm going to be mulling over it, whether I want to or not. But it was a lot of fun. Good to be home. Good to be back. Good to be here with you folks, and good to be getting back to whatever it is I'm working on that has nothing to do with Tim Pool, his audience, politics, nothing directly to do with any of that. And onwards and upwards, folks, and we're jumping over to Clubhouse now. See you there, and join us back here at the bottom of the hour on the Ayn Rand Center UK for a great discussion on causality versus duty. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.